Welcome everyone to Parksville on Vancouver Island off the west coast of Canada. So glad you are here. Each and every summer we host BeachFest, which highlights some incredible sand sculptures from master sand sculpting artists from around the world. This year there are 22 sand castles. We've got a total of 14 double teams and 15 soloists who are showing off their wares, and I can't wait to walk you through it tonight on a very special night because it's not daytime right now with the sun all lit up. Instead, this is the night light up edition. And so for 2 nights every summer, the BeachFest here put LED lights on the sandcastles, lighting them up and showing off the beauty of this place. So for the next half an hour or so, we're going to be walking around, taking a look at the beauty of the sand castles here in Parksville. Let me flip the screen around on this live stream tour. If you're with me live, you can definitely be asking questions in the chat, and I'll catch those as best as I can. And if you are just watching the rerun show, leave your questions and comments down below in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer them just as soon as I can. Again, thrilled you're here. My name's Dan King. If we have not met yet, I live here in Parksville, and it's my pleasure to host you on this tour tonight. Well, let's take a look, and hello to everybody who's saying hi to me in the chat. Great to have you guys with me tonight. The way this is broken up, and we'll begin to walk around, is it's broken up into doubles and singles. The doubles are in the center area. They're lit up this year in a beautiful purple hue, and the single solo competition is lit up around the edges with a red. We're going to start tonight by walking around and taking a look at the doubles. Now in the background you might hear, as we move throughout the night, some beautiful harp music. We have a harpist who's with us, a local harpist who's with us from Qualicum Beach, and she'll be playing all night long. And as we get around to the other side, you'll be able to hear her just a little bit better. Now, I don't know what color these are showing up for you as. It kind of looks a little bit like they are blue here. Tell me in the chat, are you seeing blue? Are you seeing purple? Because live here where I am, they're actually in a purple hue. But sometimes cameras play with our eyes, and it changes it a little bit. So let me know in the chat, what color are you seeing? Are you seeing blue or purple? You're seeing bluish purple, kind of a mix of the two. There you go. Well, this first one we want to start with kind of captures the spirit of the theme of this particular competition this year. It's the Wonders of the World is the, people are saying blue and purple and everything in the chat. That's great, you guys. The theme this year is the Wonders of the World. And so all the sculptures made out of sand tonight that we're going to see are capturing this theme in various ways. Now, this particular one is called A World of Wonder. So just a little bit of a play on words from the Wonders of the World. And it captures the beauty of the world through the eyes of a child. You can see here on the left, there's a big old frog here on some reeds. And then we've got this child who's looking through the reeds to see that little bit of the wonderful world in front of her. And this is just the perfect sand sculpture to start off our walkthrough. Isn't the detail wild? I agree, Antoine. Absolutely. So this will start us off tonight. And again, these are the doubles competitions. So these were done by 2 individuals. The soloists will be single individuals, obviously as carvers. And this is actually done by David Ducharme, who's a Canadian, and Suzanne Russler, who's from the Netherlands. It says, "Our world is filled with beauty and intriguing things." These are the words of the artists. It says, "We are born with a natural sense of wonder that allows us to discover and to explore." And explore we will tonight as we move through the various sand sculptures. The second one that we want to take a look at tonight is kind of appropriate for a nighttime viewing. Now she's kind of shrouded in a little bit of shadow tonight, but if you can see the little girl here who's sleeping. She's sleeping on a big blanket that goes up on top and drapes over the sand sculpture. And as she begins to dream, her dreams are captured on the flip side of the sculpture. Most of the dual competition, the team competitions, the double competition sand sculptures will have 2 sides that help tell the story. And so this first one is this sleeping girl. And then as we come along this towel draped or this blanket draped portion to the other side, can you hear the harp? Michelle says you can hear the harp. It is lovely. We see her dream unfolding. Now this particular sand sculpture was highlighted by the people who sculpted it, were highlighted by their peers, and this actually won a Competitor's Choice Award. So the competitors, all the artists in this competition, they voted that this was one of the best, this was the best of the doubles in their view. This is done by 2 team members, both from the Netherlands. It captures again that dreamy princess that has fallen asleep, and in her dreams she comes alive. And again, if you saw this in my daytime walkthrough, which is one of the other videos on this channel that you can go look at after this, you'll see this during the day, and it has just the details with the shadow, and the LED lights come out in such a beautiful, vibrant way here that only can happen at nighttime. Beautiful. Let's continue on our way to our next in the doubles competitions. Now this particular one has a little bit of a space theme to it. It's called 300-Year Mortgage. And it captures the idea, and it's the story that's told, as we see it, of an alien with one of the Egyptian pharaohs. And the idea behind it is that perhaps the beauty and the wonder of this was not human-made. It was maybe through a bit of an agreement with people from the stars, and that they signed a 300-year mortgage with the pharaoh, and he's signing the papers there. You can see the tomb in the front. And it's interesting as we move around the back. Again, at the back of these doubles, it continues to tell a story. And actually there's some interesting, even the carvings, a lot of the carvings on the side through here have got a little bit of a depiction of sand sculpting. It's got, you can see a shovel in the world. You can see the ace of spades, clubs below the hearts and the diamonds. Some of the little details that are found in here. Now let's walk around the back. They do look like sculptures that are solid now rather than sand. I agree. So this is the back side of the moon with our pyramids. It is, isn't it? You feel all sleepy watching this now with the harp? Or are you going to last the whole the whole tour? Just beautiful. So well done. All right, well, let's move on to our next inner competition. And again, both sides. This particular one celebrates actually a relationship between 2 of the artists who met here. On the left, you'll see the Canadian flag superimposed into the sand, and 2 who depict our artists who met here and struck a bit of relationship. So we walk around to the other side and take a look at the front. Now this one won 2nd place in our doubles competition, and it's called Love Without Borders. They met last year at the competition, and they're living on opposite sides of the world, one in Canada, one in the Netherlands. They built their relationship, and this celebrates the beauty of that. Now, Love Without Borders is the title, and it's a little bit tough to see here. Let's see if we can realign and get it. See the title? And there's our Second place. All right. Well, let's move to our first place winners in the doubles competition. This is simply called Wonderland, and it has themes of the Alice in Wonderland story that come through in it. Let's see if you can spot all the bits. Now, this is the tallest sculpture in the competition this year. Now, some of you may be interested to know that there are 30 hours that the sculptors have to create these over 4 days. On the first day, that 8 hours is called the pound up, where the artists build wooden forms around the base and would be all the way up these, and then they fill them with the sand and they fill them with water and they pound out all the air bubbles to really compress the sand so that it doesn't crack during the sculpting process. And on this particular sculpture, those forms were built and a ladder was used, and way up top, all the way up top there, probably about, I'm going to say close to 20 feet up, was the sculptor, the artist, who was pounding down the sand in those boxes. There's the Wonderland keyhole right at the front. This took first place. Just a grand sand sculpture. One of the features you can see on this one, I believe, is just on the top of the keyhole. You'll see the metal rods that are been put into the sand. Now, that's part of two ways that they preserve these from being run down by weather, but also by birds landing on them. So all these little metal pieces are put on to keep birds off of. And you might see it right there on the top tip. There's one up there as well, and one on each of the pedestals of it. And those keep birds from landing on them as well. There is a 20% biodegradable glue and 80% water solution that's sprayed on these that almost make them as hard as a rock, that keep them from deteriorating. Now, that's not done during the competition to make the carving easier. It's done after it's finished to keep it from degrading, and if there was wind or if it rained, for example, throughout the summer, that would keep it from deteriorating. Now, I do want to walk you over and show you something interesting on that note, because they've got a little example of that over here by the entrance area, where they've actually got a sand sculpture that's been made. You can see this lady checking it out. Hi, Stephanie. And if you touch it, it's actually hard, almost like a concrete or a rock to it, and it keeps it from being degraded and breaking when the rain and the wind comes. So it's kind of an interesting little fact about this sand, specialty sand that's brought in specifically for this competition. It's been specially prepared, sifted of any imperfections, little rocks, any shells, so it's just fine sand. It's brought in, 15 dump truck loads are brought in every summer for this, and then at the end of the summer, they actually get big diggers in here to put it back in those same dump trucks, and it's actually recycled, a portion of it, from year to year. As you can imagine, it's quite expensive. I just saw your question. It said, when the competitor finishes, what happens to the structures? Well, I tried to just capture that. They're covered with that glue to keep them from deteriorating, and then they stay here. So say there's 30 hours to build them over 4 days, and then for the next 5.5 weeks they stay here on display as an exhibit for people like yourself and I who can walk through and see them. And then next weekend, actually, they'll be taken down and removed, and we'll have to wait till next year till the next row of competitors happens. Now, this one's a little bit tricky to see, but this here is a dragon, and you can see the scales coming down here, and it comes around to the dragon's head, which isn't well lit tonight, but let's see if we can kind of get a little bit from the shadows. There's a good angle at it. Now, what's in its mouth? It looks like a Lego, but it's actually pill containers, and you can see The pills there as well on the other hand of the dragon. And this is the back half of a story. The dragon, the demon, the pills, the capsules, and a name on the prescription. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hidden in shadow. But if we go around front, we'll see the other half of the story. The name hidden in the shadows was none other than Elvis, who of course rose to fame. The legendary Elvis Presley, often viewed as the king of rock, reaching Zeus-like status among the other gods of modern music. Like all things, his wonder has two sides, and he had his own demons to battle. And that's what the backside of the sculpture is all about. Our Elvis came in third in our competition. So we've seen the second place, whoops, pardon me. Second place, we've seen the first place, that's right. And now we've seen our third place. And we've got one more in our doubles competition to show you before we move on to the soloist. And this one's nice. Last year we had one of the sculptures was by one of our Mexican competitors. And by the way, there's competitors here from Canada, the US, Netherlands, Mexico, Russia, and did I say the Netherlands? From Poland as well this year. Last year, one of our competitors from Mexico did a sculpture that had a hole in it, much like this, called the Vortex. His was called last year. And you could look through that hole and you could see something that was unlocked in the story. Now, there's another similar hole here tonight, but when you look through it, you can't really see. Let's see if I zoom in, if we can capture what's on the other side. Oh, it's so faded, but there's a light bulb on the other side. So this is called I Wonder, play on the words, I wonder. And your eye looks through this mechanism and sees a light bulb on the other side. And that light bulb is on the back side of a human head, symbolizing the wonder and imagination that's unlocked in people's lives that create so much of the beauty and wonder we see around us. So this is the front side. We see the back of the head there, as our light gives us a bit of a glare. And then we come around to the front side of it, lit in our LED lights, and this human man's face that we see here. This one done by two American competitors. And this, my friends, brings us to the end of the team competition. And from here we'll move to the edges in red, where we'll take a look at our soloists. Well, I'll just break in if you're late joining us. I want to say welcome. My name's Dan. I live here in Parksville and Vancouver Island off the west coast of Canada. And this is BeachFest on Vancouver Island, where we're showing off the doubles and the soloists, creations by master sculptors from around the world that happens every year and are on exhibit here for 5.5 weeks throughout the beautiful summer months. It's a beautiful evening here on Vancouver Island. We've just finished walking through our doubles, and we're going to look at the balance now of our 22 sculptures by our solo competitors. And we'll show you first, second, and third place with those as well. And by the way, if you're enjoying what you see tonight and you are interested, either now during the live stream or when you're watching the rerun, of leaving a tip and just saying thank you. There's a couple ways you can do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream, you can either go down to the description and click the link to buy me a coffee, where you can leave a tip, or you can leave it right here if you prefer, through the live stream here on YouTube. The other way you could do it is if you're watching the rerun of this, you can either hit the heart with the thanks button down below this video, near the subscribe button and the thumbs up and the thumbs down and all that kind of stuff there. Hit the heart button, you can leave a gift, or you can again go to the description, see the buy me a coffee. I just appreciate all the support you can give. Well, we're going to start here with one that's called Plant for the Future, for a Future. Beautiful sculpture. It's a young lady. It's depicted, and a tree that springs out of her as she rests herself on a stump. How much longer is this display in place? Thanks for the question, Lori. Yeah, so this display is in place for just over 5.5 weeks, and it will actually be taken down next weekend. So this is one of the last chances to see it, and this light up's only done for 2 nights. Tonight and tomorrow night. So you're getting a very special glimpse at a real different way to see these sculptures. That one done by one of our competitors from the Netherlands. This one captures what the author, the sculptor, calls the 8th wonder of the world, the internet. Much like other years, the internet is captured and portrayed in various ways, and this particular one is no exception to that. It's called Beyond Infinity. Oh, you know what? Am I getting mine mixed up? I am, you guys. I'm sorry. Let me just read what it says here, and I'll correct myself. It says, Beyond Infinity is the name of this one, by one of our Canadian sculptures. As we grow the sphere of our knowledge, the horizon of our ignorance also expands from the atomic scale, where particles, and goes into particles in the cosmos and the universe and all. We find just the wonder and the beauty of all that exists. Oh, Trent, do you? Well, wonderful. Well, welcome. You could be telling the stories much better than I could, I'm sure. All right, well, let's move to the next one. This one entitled Clickbait. Three cute little creatures for us. Here's what, and this is the one that it captures the 8th wonder of the world, as the artist calls it, which is the internet. So I got ahead of myself in the last one. Clickbaits. And you see on their chests different words. Chat, delete, and this little guy has got a like on him. If you like this video, you can hit the thumbs up button and leave me a like. How's that for a good tie-in? Right, let's continue on our way. This is one of the ones that's one of my favorites. It's actually got 4th place in the competition. It's called Age of Wonder.
Look at her like sweater.
Just get close in.
Damn.
And so we can see the beautiful little bird and some of the texture on this that the girl's holding. The artist says, a Canadian sculptor says, I wanted to convey the wonder and awe as a young girl holds a baby bird in her hands. So he was inspired by a lovely photo that a friend of theirs took this spring in Castlegar, which is a community here in British Columbia. And the little girl's actually seen this and was quite delighted at the outcome. It's our 4th place. How many people go through this exhibit during the 5.5 weeks? Great question. So, interesting story. Originally, this competition started out on the beaches back in the mid-1980s, 1985. There was about 100 people who attended that year. And that year, the sculptures worked on their pieces out there on the beach. And when the tide came in, the tide washed them away. So it was a very quick one-day event. 100 people. They called it a great roaring success. This year, they've moved it, obviously, for years now, they've had it inland, and there will be about 150,000 people who will visit the sculptures this year. They just hit the 100,000 mark just this last week, actually. And so they're on their way now, racing towards what's they're expecting to be between 130 and 150,000 this year, as I understand it, give or take. Inner Peace, this one is called. Another one with a bit of a face and a lotus leaf, or pardon me, a lotus flower. How many people? Ah, yes. All right. Let's continue on our way. We'll go past our local resident here from Qualicum Beach, which is just up the word. And they don't count those of us who are here virtually, that's right. Our local lady who's from Qualicum Beach, just up the road, who's playing the harp tonight. And tomorrow night as well. You can give her a thumbs up in the chat if you like that. As we continue along to our next few sculptures, I'll also just pop into this room, which has got a large map on the wall that says, "Where do you live?" And the idea behind it is that people grab stickers, put a sticker on where they're from. And so from all over the world, you can see all the stickers showing where everyone is from.
You're that YouTuber.
Now, this particular one got the solo award for the competitors. We saw the Dream one earlier, and that was for the competitor's choice for doubles. This one won the competitor's choice for soloists. This is a unique one. Hi, Linda. This is a unique one called The Two Wonders of the World, which is a little bit of a play because it's referring to the two individuals here who, of course, have their selfie cameras out, taking pictures of themselves with the perfect look and view. And behind them, in the background, are some of the wonders of the world. Taj Mahal, Eiffel Tower, and they're really secondary to the individuals who are getting their selfies taken. It was interesting, I saw, and those of you who came through this particular tour and exhibit in the daylight heard me tell about the picture that I saw when the artist was creating this. They had a sketch that they'd made, and they were copying it, and it was just incredible to see it come to life from being on paper to turning into the sand here. This one got second place in our competition. We're going to move on to the first place soloist, and that's called the Great Barrier Reef, one of the, of course, wonders of the world. Let me back up a little bit. Capture this one with the undersea world, the fish, the eels, the coral of the Great Barrier Reef. It is a beautiful, beautiful textured sand sculpture. I don't know if you can see some of the texture on this in this light, but it's just done beautifully. Great Barrier Reef, of course, so large it can be seen from space, 2,300 kilometers long, 900 islands, over 29,000 reefs, truly a wonder of the world. And this is our first place award-winning sculpture this year.
And this one? What is that?
Beautiful.
Mom, there's a fish.
Our next one is equally as beautiful because of the story behind it. And I feel like a good sand sculpture always tells a story. And this is the story of a dear friend of the artist's, his dog. And the depiction around it says, "The wonder of a golden friendship." His golden retriever who had passed away, and he's kind of done this in memorandum to him, a memorial to him. Hope you guys are enjoying this walk through the lit up sand sculptures. And if you like it, you'll have to make sure to link to it, perhaps on your social media or your Facebook page or what have you. And share it with others who you think might enjoy it. It's great to have the world come to Parksville to see these, but it's also great to take them to the world. I was just talking just before this to our live stream started, to some of the organizers, and they were thanking us for bringing it to the world through live streaming here on YouTube. This is called Breakfast, Once Upon a Time in Paradise. All right, let's continue. Now this is our 5th place solo competition. A little bud, a flower, and some hands here. A blooming wonder. Of course, the idea of the wonder of just a single seedling growing into something beautiful when cared for. This is called a seed. If you have other questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or if you're watching the rerun down below. I'd be very happy to answer those if I can, with the knowledge that I happen to have at the moment. Now, this is called Wandering the Face of the Earth. And we had a great interview with the artist while he was creating this. He told us a little bit about it. You've got on the top of it Mount Everest with an airplane just to show kind of the height and the scope of that mountain. You've got Niagara Falls coming down. You've got the Andes Mountains. You've got a little man hiking in the eyeball. Really, it tells a story and captures a beautiful story here. Half Dome Mountains of Yosemite Park, among other beautiful spots around the earth. We're coming to the end now. This was a piece done by a Mexican sculptor. Now, last year was his first year at this competition here in Canada, and he came back this year to compete again. Wonderful soul. He's a great guy. He said the hardest part was all the steps. So all these little steps, every single individual one, let's just zoom in on those for a second, were all hand sculpted. And he had little levels and rulers to make sure everything was parallel. Because you can imagine with this many pieces to carve, everything had to be parallel to each other. And he did a beautiful, beautiful job. Wouldn't you agree? And the Aztec temple that he's created here. And as so many of these solo sculptures have, they've got the main piece and then an extra piece at the front. In this case, it's a dragon coming at the front. And yes, I agree with the comment that's just been made in the chat there about this, the steady hand and the patience of these artists. Really do an incredible job on this. This Mayan temple. I think I said Aztec before, Mayan temple. Now this one's a bit hard to see, but you've got a flying fish in the middle. It's very beautifully textured. It's hard to see with these lights. These red lights are a little bit tough to see when we're looking at the live stream. Somebody asked the question, do these artists come back year after year? And yes, several of them do. There's often new ones, or they take a few years off and they come back, but yes, so many of them do. This one's called the common swift. From the moment leaving their nest, they fly for 1.5 years non-stop. They eat, sleep, drink on the wing. Now, did I say fish? See, it looks like a flying fish. Why did I think this was a flying fish? This is a bird. Silly me. They eat between 20,000 and 50,000 insects a day, flying 288,000 kilometers a year. It's about 7 times around the world. Not so common, these swifts, but a small wonder. That's our swift. It does look like a fish. I don't know why, for some reason I thought this was a flying fish. I've even read that before, and for some reason that just escaped my mind for a few moments. All right, we're coming up to our last one now of the solo competitions. And it's a unique one. And again, I don't know how this one, called Themeless, will be received with the lighting the way it is. But we see a woman and coming out of her covering. It says the story behind the sculpture is to depict the beauty and wonder of the female form while featuring a child learning about the birds and the bees as identified in the book they're reading by the child. Now this is our 3rd place competition. I'll see if I can get around. 3rd place in the solo competition. I'll see if I can get around to this child who's reading the book. There they are. Now the lighting's not ideal, but if it was daytime, we could see the title of the book and what's in it. Now some of them as well, a lot of people only look at the front. Often they will have something on the back side. And this one is no exception. It's a little planet, it's a little bird, chicken of sorts. It says, "Judge not, lest thee be judged." And of all the sculptures here in the competition, because of the female form on the front, this is probably one that would have the most judgmental response by people. So it's interesting they've put that behind, but many of them often have little hidden, I'll call them Easter eggs behind, and this one is no exception to that. Well guys, I hope that you've enjoyed our tour tonight of the sandcastles here, lit up for the night lights here in Parksville and Vancouver Island. And they have not chosen, somebody just asked, have they chosen the public choice yet, the People's Choice? They haven't, but if I find out, maybe I'll put it in the description below when they do go ahead and do that. Guys, it's been great to host you. I hope you've enjoyed our walk through the beautiful sculptures here and the nighttime rather than the daytime. If you haven't watched the daytime walkthrough, please do. You'll see some extra stories in there, some more interesting views, and it's a completely different experience during the day. And there's also a 3rd video on the sand sculptures from this year that is the actual competition stage, where the sand sculptures aren't yet finished, but their works are in progress that you've seen now completed tonight, all lit up. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if this is something you've enjoyed and you found value in, and you do want to leave a little bit of a tip, down in the description below, you can find a link to tip me on Buy Me a Coffee, which is always appreciated. You can do it right here on YouTube if you like. And if you just want to leave a thumbs up or share this with a friend, please do. I can't wait to read your comments below as all the comments are flipping up here on the live chat. Thanks for everybody who's been able to come along and join me. It's always a great time to walk through and show you the beauty of Parksville each and every summer. Guys, have a great one. Until I see you again, we'll talk to you soon. Make sure you follow the channel for more. There's so much about Vancouver Island on the channel. So if you found me through this video, make sure you do that. Thanks for hanging around. Have a wonderful night and a great finish to your summer. Bye now.